Yeah. Now I'm just going to invite Georg to come up here. He's the CEO of Meniga, and he'll introduce himself and his company a little bit more.
Thank you. Yeah. Hey guys, yes, my name is Georg. I'm one of the founders and the CEO of Meniga, which is the company in this premises. So we are a FinTech company, 8 years old. For those of you that don't know us, we have our business is we're born out of the financial crisis that hit Iceland hard 8 years ago, and we were one of the pioneers in personal finance management software in Europe. So that means basically helping people understand and manage their money or their personal home economies, household economies. And one of the early decisions we made was to work through banks. So we, welcome. So we work with now many of the largest banks in Europe on their digital banking in this space. We are doing it a little bit differently here in Iceland. Iceland's the only country where we're a consumer brand, where we have a direct-to-consumer website and an app, Meniga.is, and we also work with the banks in Iceland, but we're also a straight-to-consumer app that's purely for testing and piloting solutions outside of Iceland, where we have 90% of our revenue and most of our customers. We're in 18 countries. We are typically part of the bank's online and mobile banking applications. We sell them software components, but we also kind of have built a reputation as thought leaders in terms of what is the future of digital banking, what should the digital bank of the future look like. So or at least we like to believe that in addition to buying our software, they see us as good innovation partners. And so what does this do with personal data? A lot. In many ways, we've always seen ourselves as primarily a data company. The way we help people understand and manage their money is by taking their personal data, financial data in our case, and help create insights and understanding and tools, management tools around it. So we take transaction histories of households, from bank accounts, from credit cards, and try to understand the people and their lives around this data, which is pretty rich if you think about it. People's spending profile, it tells you a lot about you. Everyone spends money, and it tells you can see where people work, where they live, what kind of lifestyle they lead, do they have kids or not. You can tell a lot of intimate things about people by analyzing their spending histories. So in that sense, we've always looked at our core competence as managing, protecting, and making good sense of data and presenting something valuable to the end user, or creating solutions that are useful to both people and the banks and so on. So we also take data privacy and security very seriously. I think you won't find a website in Iceland or a web service with more comprehensive, thought-through privacy policy that we have in the Meniga solution. We always operated on the key premise that the users themselves own the data. We think that regardless of any law or regulation, that just makes good sense. People should own their own data, and you have to earn the right. If you want to do business with it, you need to earn the right to do so by doing something meaningful, something useful that users will then grant you right to do. So we have, despite sometimes lawyer advising us differently, we have not tried to hide things at page 83 in terms of use. We try to be very as transparent as we can when we provide new services. One example that where we looked a lot about the data privacy part is a service we launched here more than a year ago about personalized offers to help people find savings. So first few years, all we did was understanding and management. So helping people categorize their spending, do budgeting, understand where they're spending and so on, but not trying to influence really their kind of giving them discounts. So one of the things we have bet on heavily, and excuse the drilling noise, apparently they're only allowed to do it after 5, so this could go on for a while, but we couldn't stop it. We tried though. So yes, I mean, so this service, which we launched in Iceland, and we are then planning to launch in other countries in partnership with banks, is about, in addition to helping people understand and manage their money, also help them make the most of it. So the core concept is asking people, do you want us to go out and find you offers and discounts from various stores that is matching to your spending profile? So the concept is you only get offers from stores where you're already a kind of active customer, or similar stores that want to win you over with deep discounts. And the big vision here, and which is Meniga's dream of becoming kind of a unicorn company, is that we can convince biggest banks in the world to expand their online bank to not just a place where you can do banking and transfer money, check your balance and so on, but to a place that helps you become a smarter consumer in any way, and create a major advertising ecosystem built around people's spending histories. Just like Google built one on search. Like for some things, if I need a new TV, I search for it and then Google has optimized that. But in many cases, because we're already spending this much in groceries, this much in electricity and so on, looking at your spending profile to try then to see, okay, you maybe can save money here. So it has a potential to become a major ecosystem. And banks are now increasingly open to expand the purpose of their online and mobile banking into this ecosystem thinking. And we have been testing this in Iceland for now almost 2 years, and we're very happy with the results. We're not focusing on reaching everyone in Iceland because it's such a small market anyway, but we want to have a very meaningful test. So we've had maybe 10,000 active users of the Meniga app using it. And one of the key things we looked at is privacy. We're worried that if you use your spending profile to show advertising, some people have negative reaction and think, whoa, this is like Minority Report. I don't want to be kind of this super personalized advertising. So, and even though we had a license to do this in our terms and conditions since we launched many years ago, this is still something we decided to be super transparent about. And one of the key success factors we looked at, do people really, do they have a negative reaction to this? Because we don't think it's going to work on a large scale unless everyone likes it. The users, the merchants that are giving those discounts should see this as a great new advertising platform, and the bank should love this because it would increase the traffic and importance of their online bank, and it's a new business model for them. And overwhelmingly, and Iceland, I think, like most of Europe, is pretty privacy sensitive. There are a lot of people here that really care about these things. They would speak up if it's not done right. We see that very strong in the Nordics, in Germany, and probably more in Europe than in the US. So that is something we looked at very carefully. So we really tried to, can we explain this transparently? We decided to ask everyone that sees an offer again for a informed consent permission to do this. Yeah, we believe we've been pretty successful. We've had, I think, less than 3 people complaining about this, and overwhelmingly the users were really happy about the service. So we think that's an example of a service where if you do a good job, I'm not saying everyone likes every offer they see, but in the Meniga app, a typical user sees maybe 1 to 4 offers a month, so it's not like it's bombarded, but most of these offers are super high discount and super relevant. So it's like 50% discount at Joe and the Juice or something very meaningful. And also, we always explain, why are you seeing this? Because you spend a lot on lemon. Joe and the Juice wants to win you over. And we make this clear in the presentation of the ad. And we feel that has really worked well. People understand, okay, I'm seeing this because Joe and the Juice wants to win me over. I'm a big spender on sandwiches, so I try it, and some users then stay there, others go back to lemon because they're just bargain hunters. And then we also ask for permission, and we can give very detailed statistics to these merchants so that they can see exactly how many took the offer, how many spent, what was we have comparison groups, and so we're proving to the merchants also that it makes sense to give these deep discounts, so that maybe they're losing money on every sandwich if it's a 50% discount, but maybe because some of the users keep spending there after the offer period ends, they make it up with increased business from this group. Plus, it's only people that never shopped there before. It's not like some of these daily deal sites where you're giving new users discount, but also your loyal customers. So it's very personalized, segmented, and so on. But you have to be very careful with the privacy side. And now we are in the process of talking about this with many of the largest banks in Europe that are already using our personal finance management software. And we're trying to convince them to compete with Facebook and Google in their online bank with offers like this. And we're big believers that this can become really mainstream, and Meniga is a pioneer. This is one of the kind of the big venture debt kind of bets that we are making as a company. But a little bit more on personal finance and banking. There's also the reasons banks are now increasingly open to use data more aggressively, not just for some new business like offers, but also just use it to create a more personalized experience. Because if you think about it, almost every online bank, including the Icelandic ones, which are still pretty good, there's nothing very personalized there. Of course, it's your transactions and your bank accounts, but everyone more or less has the same user experience. So, excuse me. Yeah, so, but banks are now, they see multiple threats. It's never been a more interesting time. They're worried that they will have a similar fate as the music industry and losing out a lot of their income and profit because of technology change and because of new entrants. And there are a lot of things happening at the same time. There's a lot of increased investment in FinTech companies that are trying to compete with banks. They're afraid that the big tech companies like Amazon, Facebook, Google go increasingly into banking, and there are a lot of signs that they are. Amazon just this week announced a new cash scheme, and Facebook is also working on this. Facebook Messenger has a lot of banking features. WeChat in China, already you can do almost everything that a bank offers in WeChat, and a lot of people are using it. And then, if that wasn't enough, Europe is also seeing major regulatory change that is causing a big pressure on banks, and that has to do with data, both privacy and handling, and giving control to the end user. So two major new regulations are hitting the European Union, and next year, I think both. One is called PSD2, Payment Services Directive 2, and it's an interesting attempt by Europe, which has typically been bogged down by over-regulation and which has kind of stifled innovation, but now they're trying to turn that into a strength to encourage innovation, create level playing field. So what PSD2 will be forcing every bank to give an open, free of charge API so people can move their data around, and so people can authorize payment initiation. Basically meaning anyone can launch a mobile bank and just use an API to other banks to move money and to get their historical data, like from your bank account. Still, anyone can mean another bank, it can mean a startup, it can mean Google, so people basically have access to banks' data as long as the users approve. So users still have to authorize this. But if I use a service, a new app from Meniga or from a startup or from Google that wants to access my transactions from Íslandsbanki has to comply. They have to provide that API. And that means banks will have much bigger competition, and we already see new apps and services in Europe that are trying to exploit this when this happens, like bank apps that are connecting to many banks and trying to basically reduce banks to a under the hood back-end service that are competing on interest rates while they own the customer relationship. Another major sweeping regulation is the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, which is again a kind of attempt by Europe to standardize privacy regulation and give control back to the user. Very different to regulation in the US, which is arguably companies can get away with a lot of things without asking permission, but in Europe they're trying to really cement that the user owns their data, they control it, and they can should decide kind of what can be done with it. And this, banks are, so on one hand they know they have to respond to these threats, they're worried, so they're investing a lot in their user experiences. They're more open to using data more aggressively and work with companies like Meniga, so it's good for our business. But on the other hand, they're also paranoid, as they should be, as anyone that works with sensitive personal data should be. Like GDPR also means there will be huge fines for anyone working with personal data that then screws up the security and kind of loses it, or has someone hack it. So it's like out of business fines that can be up to, I think, 4% of annual turnover or something. So huge fines. But it's very interesting. And because of these changes, there's a lot of uncertainties. When exactly will this take effect? GDPR also says you have to ask for permission for any specific use. You can't say, give me your data, I'm going to use it for this purpose, and then in reality use it also for another purpose. You have to ask explicitly for every purpose. But still there's a lot of unclarities. You probably don't have to ask for something that if you get it before the regulation takes effect, and level of granularity and so on. So we're also seeing bunch of new startups that are trying to take advantage of this new regulation to create maybe a middle layer, an independent service where people can store all of the data, either in specific domain or across domains. Some trying to be completely independent, trusted service, probably taking money directly from end users as a subscription because they don't want to have a conflict of interest, where you can then kind of control from there whom you send your data to. So basically data brokers and custodians that probably also add a lot of advanced features, like I want to release my data for 3 months only and not forever because I might forget revoking it and so on. So very interesting things. It's at the heart of FinTech. It's at the heart of what Meniga does, and something I could speak about for a long time, but in interest of time, I think I'll leave it at this, but very interesting times.